What's up, everybody? This is Jackhammer 2711 coming at you with yet another video review. And today we are going to be taking a look at the Masters of the Universe Classics Hordak. But this is not just a regular Hordak. This is the San Diego Comic-Con Filmation Hordak that comes with the Imp figure. As you can see, Hordak comes into the traditional Masters of the Universe Classics mailer box that Mattel packs their stuff in. See there the Master of the Universe Classics logo there. You've got Hordak, and then below that you've got a little blurb. It says, "In memory of Lou Scheimer." Lou Scheimer, of course, was involved with the classic 80s Masters of the Universe cartoon. And he recently passed away. So that's really, really cool that Mattel, gave a nod to Lou Scheimer and all the contributions he made to the Masters of the Universe Classics lore, including this version of Hordak that we're going to be taking a look at today. Of course, it's just a brown mailer. And whenever you bust open that mailer box, you find Filmation Hordak. Of course, this is the San Diego Comic-Con version of Hordak. And he does come packaged in the traditional Masters of the Universe Classics blister card packaging. Of course, you've got Masters of the Universe Classics here at the top of the blister bubble. You've got the lightning bolt detail down both sides that we've come to know from Masters of the Universe Classics. Your traditional green brick with the yellow planet background blister card here. Taking a closer look at the packaging, you can see here Hordak in the packaging. Of course, Hordak is a member of the Evil Horde. He's got that Evil Horde faction sticker right there. He is Hordak, ruthless leader of the Evil Horde invasion. And as you can see here, it includes the Imp minifigure. Of course, Hordak is an adult collector piece. Just taking a look at the bottom of the packaging right quick before we move on. All the legal mumbo jumbo that Mattel has to include on their packaging. Of course, the Mattel logo here. Mattel logo here. And taking a look at the back of the packaging here. Here you have Hordak's bio, Filmation Hordak's bio. Of course, the real name Hector Kerr. Don't really have a problem with that name. It's the name that we've gotten on other Hordak bios. It's one of the few names that I don't really have that big of an issue with. He is, as you can see here, the ruthless leader of the Evil Horde invasion. You've got your collect 'em all blurb there, and then of course a plug for MattyCollector.com right here, where collectors are king. Taking a look at the rest of the packaging, you've got your Masters of the Universe Classics logo there at the top, and then some of the figures that are also available in the line that are related to this figure. Of course, you've got Scorpia here, who is a Filmation character herself. Then you've got Shadow Weaver, also a Filmation character. You got the figure we have in here, Hordak. You've got Octavia, also a Filmation exclusive character. Then you've got Glimmer down here, and of course She-Ra, most powerful woman in the universe, up there at the top right hand corner. So that's Hordak in packaging. Really excited about this figure. Can't wait to get to this review. So let's go ahead and bust Hordak out of his plastic prison and see just exactly what he's working with. Alright, everybody, we have Hordak here out of the packaging, and he's a pretty nice figure. There are a lot of people who have issues with some of the things going on with this figure. I'm not really one of them, but we'll get into that whenever we get to the actual figure itself. First, let's take a look at the accessories that came with Filmation inspired Hordak. First thing he comes with that we're going to take a look at is this staff. It is the staff that came with the original Hordak character, original figure that Matty Collector produced. But as you can see, it's painted in this more flat gray color across pretty much the whole thing. Actually, it's kind of hard to tell if it's cast in this color, and then I can't really tell. I'm going to say it's cast in this gray plastic. You see down here on the end, they have the kind of like that sculpted detail of a claw holding an orb, and then of course the grip, sculpting detail and the grip, the line work and the grip going all the way up to the it's of course another sculpted detail of a claw holding an orb there. You got some nice spikes down there below that, and then of course you have all this design work at the top, which you know, you have your 3 spikes here, and then you have kind of your Horde bat logo. It is painted nicely, kind of a two-tone paint job. You have kind of like your flat red color there in between the fingers of the wing, I guess you would call them, and then the spines and fingers and the face is kind of painted in a more metallic red. As you can see there is some paint chipping on mine. Kind of unfortunate, but it's not really that big of a deal. On both sides actually, just a little bit here as well. But it's a nice accessory. The plastic at the top is very soft, as you can see from this angle right here. It's warped out of the packaging. Very, very soft. It could be fixed though with a little bit of heat and some cold water. And it's even the handle there, you can see it's kind of warped out of the packaging. But it's a nice accessory. I mean, it's nice for any figure to come with an accessory. But this, I'm assuming the paint job on this is intended to kind of reflect that cartoony, flat color that you get in cartoons a lot of times. And it's just kind of meh, you know, without some of that painted detail that we're used to from these Masters of the Universe Classics figures. It's decent enough though, I guess. It's not too bad. But definitely could have used some more paint detail. But you have Hordak's staff there. Next thing he came with is this. The arm, specifically the left arm on the figure, is interchangeable. And this is the arm that comes in the package. The character does come packaged with a different arm. This is his standard arm. Of course, you can see there you have the post that will plug into the hole in the side of Hordak's torso, and you can just put this regular arm on, and it's just a standard Masters of the Universe Classics arm. You know, you've got your Horde armband here that is removable. Should you care to remove it, it's not part of the sculpt. So that's really cool, really nice touch there. Of course, kind of comes down there just to, comes down there to the hand. You know, just a standard Masters of the Universe Classics arm. But it's cool. It's cool to get any kind of interchangeable parts to give alternate looks to characters. So, you know, it's really nice. Really nice paint job. The whole figure's painted quite nicely in this blue color, and then of course you can see right here there's some of that wash that Mattel puts on to them, that kind of darker color to bring out the sculpt and the sculpting detail, the anatomy, and the musculature of the figure. But really nice, really cool. As I mentioned, Hordak does come with his robotic cannon firing arm, but in the end of that arm there is a hole that you can plug this into. This is the clawed hand that you see him kind of wielding oftentimes in the She-Ra cartoon. And it's very nicely done as well. No articulation on it. It would have been nice to have these kind of articulation points across the fingers, where there's kind of articulation points sculpted in, so you know where the finger would move at, where the hands would move. But still, it's really nice. Getting a closer look at some of that detail, I mean, they do such a great job with their sculpts. I mean, it looks like this could articulate. It really does. That's how good the sculpt on this thing really is. It's just fantastic. Really nice. Really, really nice. And last but not least, what is the big deal for a lot of people as far as the accessories go? Hordak comes with Imp, which is, I guess you could call him Hordak's pet of sorts. And he's really, really nice, really cool. It's a nice inclusion. He comes, you know, painted in that kind of light blue color that he's colored in the cartoon. Of course, you know, he have his hooves, eyebrows, and this tuft of hair that goes along the top of his head and around to his back, painted in a slightly darker blue. He's got his little black Horde onesie with the Horde symbol on the front that he's wearing. He's got these nice big ears, and the inside of the ears, as you can see there, is painted like a lighter blue to kind of give some contrast of the inside of the ear. It's really, really nice. He's got these big bulging yellow eyes with these little beady pupils, black pupils in the middle, and those nice dark rings around him. He just looks really, really good. I have seen some of the Imp figures that look kind of derpy with their eyes. This one's not too bad, I don't think. Maybe not as perfect as it could be, but it's not too bad. And then, of course, you know, he's got his little snout with his two little sharp pig teeth coming out from underneath there. You know, taking a look at his back. He's got the wings popping out of his back there. Wings are unarticulated. They're not articulated, but, I mean, it's not really that big of a deal. They have a nice sculpt, some nice sculpting detail on them. And he's got a little tail there. As far as for points of articulation, we've seen a lot of the minifigures have barely any articulation, and we've seen some that have some really good articulation. Imp kind of falls in between. He's got his arms articulate up and down. Both arms up and down. Pretty good. And then the head will swivel, but you could probably force it to go all the way around, but I'm not going to force it because I don't want to take a chance of breaking this thing. But it's a really neat little character. You take a look at the bottom of his feet. There's no peg holes or anything like that for a flight stand, but it is possible to kind of perch him on Hordak's shoulder a little bit. It's not designed necessarily to do that, but it will perch up there and it will sit, you know, pretty good. I mean, if you come by and bump the figure, of course he's going to just go falling right off of Hordak's shoulder, but you can put him up there, and I'll try to show that a little bit later in the video if I can. But anyway, there's Imp, and that's the accessories that come with Filmation-inspired Hordak. Now let's get Hordak back out here and take a look at him. Well, if he stays standing, that is. Don't get alarmed. That's just kind of a product of me not being more careful whenever I put him out there. He stays standing really, really well. I could leave him standing right there for the rest of the review and not touch him, and he would stay standing there perfectly still just like that. It's not a big deal. But he's a really, 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 in my opinion, well-executed figure while being... Look, let's just get this out of the way. Take a look at the head sculpt here. Is it a nice head sculpt? Yes, it's very, very nice. It's that same traditional Hordak head sculpt that we've seen from the get-go in Masters of the Universe Classics. It's repainted in a very, very nice way that is an homage to Filmation Hordak. You know, he's got the white skull there. You know, you see his teeth are painted in that black and red detail like he had in the cartoon. He's got that black and red eye detail that he had in the cartoon, and then the spine going up across the middle of his forehead is in that blue color just like it was in the Filmation cartoon. However, this is not a Filmation head sculpt. A lot of people were unhappy with that. A lot of people. I'm not really one of them. I've understood from the start with Masters of the Universe Classics that any character that comes from any kind of media is going to be classicized, basically. They want to have a uniformity to the line in some way, shape, or form. And that uniformity a lot of times comes in the sculpt. Do I think it would have been nice to have got a Filmation alternate head with this? Absolutely. Do I think we're going to get it down the line? Toy Guru pretty much came out and said just as much, that the demand seems to be there. If the demand's there, they're going to go ahead and do it later on down the line with another figure, quite possibly. It's a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive, as I said before, so it would have been nice to throw that into the tooling budget, but, you know, if you do that, maybe you lose Imp. And let's face it, does anyone want to lose Imp? Or if you do that, maybe you lose this, the cannon arm. Do we want to lose the cannon arm? You know, it's kind of one of those deals where, you know, you've got to pick and choose somewhere. And for some people, yeah, maybe losing Imp and losing the cannon arm would have been feasible and acceptable to them to get a Filmation head sculpt. But for some, you know, having this cannon arm right here and having Imp included with the figure were more essential than a Filmation head sculpt. So it's kind of 6 and 1/2 dozen to the other. You're not going to make everyone happy all the time. That's just impossible to do, especially with a line like this. But so for what he is, he's not really a Filmation Hordak. He's more of a Filmation inspired Hordak. And I know a lot of people, what's the difference? The difference is if this was a Filmation Hordak, we would have got the Filmation head sculpt. We would have got the cowl that has the bigger bone detail going around it instead of the traditional one. We would have got the armor that had the bigger bone detail around the shoulders and the correct detail, you know, down here. We would have gotten, you know, a perfect Filmation rendition of this character. But that's just simply not what we got, because it's not a Filmation toy line. It's Masters of the Universe Classics, and this is the Masters of the Universe Classics Filmation inspired Hordak. So I'm really happy with the figure, despite everything that I've said. Just looking at the head sculpt, you have that great detail that the Four Horsemen always put into the head sculpts. It's not a new sculpt, like I said, but it was fantastic whenever they did it. It's still fantastic now. Of course, you know, you've got his cowl that sits there behind his head. It just that big, bulky cowl piece that sits back there. It's one of the defining characteristics of Hordak. You know, taking a look at the back, you've got some sculpting detail here. It's painted in black, kind of in a more metallic black than maybe the armor is, but it's still not too shiny. You've got that rivet detail around the back of the cowl. Coming back around to the front, you can see now the front of the cowl is painted much more in a flat color than the back of it is. He's got that bone detail that goes all the way around the cowl, around both sides of his face, painted in kind of a flat gray color. Got that nice little red jewel there in the middle of his cowl there. Taking a look at the torso, it's the standard Hordak torso that we've seen before, the torso armor. It's got that nice big red Horde symbol across the front right there, painted in that nice red color. It's not a two-tone red, it's just one single color red. Then of course the armor has that bone detail there around the shoulders, goes all the way around. Underneath it meets up right here with this piece at the bottom. Of course, you see there it's painted in gray and black. Filmation Hordak did have a bigger bone detail both around the cowl and around the shoulder piece. And right here as well, this doesn't exactly match up to Filmation Hordak, but it's pretty darn close. It's not a bad representation, you know, for what they've done here. It does have some metallic blue detail here on the armor. That's really cool, really nice. Then a couple rivets sculpted in right here to the armor, which is really cool. The underneath torso does have that flat ab area to denote armor. It doesn't have the muscle detail right here, the abs sculpted in, which we should have expected that from this figure anyway. That's what the original figure had. That's what this one has as well. You know, and then it comes down here to the loincloth, and this loincloth is actually different. The original Hordak figures came with that long, It was a much longer loincloth. This is the shorter one that's more matched to the vintage versions of figures, and is what Hordak wore in the Princess of Power cartoon. Of course, it's painted in that flat black. The belt is a gray belt, and it does have kind of a flat color in the middle, but the rivets and the edges of the belt are painted in a metallic gray, and that's pretty standard for most of the belts on these furry loincloths. They mostly all come with that. Taking a look at his arms here, his right arm is identical to the left removable arm that I showed you guys earlier. It does have the removable armband. The armband is removable here too. You see the nice paint job, that nice blue paint job with that wash detail that just brings out the sculpt. It's very nicely painted, and it matches up quite nicely to what Hordak looked like in the Filmation cartoon. And of course, you know, the arm does end here in the bracer, as most Masters of the Universe Classics characters do. Now his cannon arm is really done quite well. It's a nice reuse of parts. It's painted in that similar color to the rest of the body, except for a couple spots. You see here, this spot on his shoulder is painted in metallic blue paint, as is this little detail here on the side painted in metallic blue. This, I believe, is a flip shot piece. This came off of the flip shot character, or Icarius, whatever you want to call him. I think maybe the shoulder piece maybe is like Mechanic. I think Mechanic had shoulders like this, if I'm not mistaken. Not Mechanic, rather Many-Faces. Many-Faces is the one I think who had this kind of shoulder detail. If I'm not mistaken, if I'm wrong, you can correct me in the comments, which I'm sure people are want to do. But it's a nice reuse of parts to come across and get that cannon arm that Hordak often had. He had that ability to change his arm into a cannon arm. And this cannon piece down here at the bottom is also a reuse of parts. We've seen this from Hurricane Hordak. I think Horde Prime maybe also had something like this, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not entirely certain. But again, a nice job with the sculpted details. You've got this kind of tech-looking mechanical detail running all along the top, bottom, and sides of it. It's really, really cool. It's painted in a flat gray, as you can see here in the middle, but the edges, these tech details, are in metallic gray. So a really nice job on the paint job there, and this arm is removable. I'll show that a little bit later, about how you can transform this arm into the regular Horde arm. Moving down to his legs are kind of blah compared to the rest of the figure, just simply because it's just the standard Masters of the Universe Classics legs. That's what we're getting with this guy. Painted once again in a nice blue paint. It's coming across a little bit darker on camera than it actually is in person. In person, the paint job is a little bit lighter than what you're seeing here, but not much. It's doing a pretty good job of translating that across on camera. And then you get down here to his feet. Of course, he's got the Hordak feet. More bone detail across right there, painted all in flat paint. The feet are, with the Horde logo all across the front. Then you've got the gray detail here, here, and here on the toes. But these are the newer Hordak feet. You see the pins are not showing. So really, really cool. We got some really, really nice, strong, stiff ankle joints on this guy. Of course, the armor is removable. I'm not going to take it all the way off, but I'll just give you a quick rundown of how you remove it. If you've ever played with Masters Universe Classics, had one of the figures, you should understand how this works by now. You've got the tabs here on either side. They just peel right off. Kind of get your thumb there in the bottom, and they just peel off there, peels off there, comes loose. You know, you can peel that up. You pop off the head, and you can take the armor right off. It's not hard to do at all. As you can see, the underneath of the armor here, he does have the standard Masters of the Universe Classics buck underneath, painted in black. So if you take off the armor, you're not going to have very many display options, simply because the paint from the body and the underneath is not going to match up. If you're a customizer and you want to paint that up to match, hey, go for it. But I'm not, so I won't. Then of course the armor, very, very easy to put back together. You just line those little spots up right there and give them a push. on, excuse me, both sides. Push them back in, and the armor's back on. Not hard to do. Not hard to do at all. I will show you guys this. If you take a look at the figure with his arms posed down by his sides, with the cannon arm on, the arms are roughly about the same length down to the bottom of the cannon and the bottom of the hand. Now, if you want to display him with the clawed hand, of course you just take that claw, pops right in there, very easy. Here it pop in there. And you want to display him like that, it becomes very, very apparent that the left arm with the claw attached is much longer than the right arm. And honestly, that's not really that big of a deal to me. If you're going to get a figure like this with a design like this, you're going to have to give and take a couple things, and this is just one of those things that happens from time to time. It's not that big of a deal. I mean, if you want to pose them like this, you can just kind of pick that arm up and you know, maybe get him in a nice emotive pose there, and you can't really tell from that point that the arm is that much longer than the other one if you're posing him like this. But you know, just again showing that difference there. There is quite a difference there, and it's quite noticeable if you just have him posed standing up in one position. Now, just to show you guys how the arm swaps, it's really quite simple. You just kind of have to pop that arm off. You take the other arm. I just find it easier to kind of to go at it from this angle, and you can see that see if I can get the light to shine on it from my lamp. You see that joint in there? It is sculpted in the same shape as this. So you don't just want to push it in there discriminately. You want to kind of line it up a little bit to make sure that it's lining up properly. And then you just give it a push. It pops right in. Not too bad, not too hard to do at all. And then there you just have your standard Masters Universe Classics Hordak painted in Filmation colors. And of course, you know, if you want to, you can take his old staff and put it in his hand, and you know, Hordak will just kind of stand there with his staff aloft like a Hordak would want to do in a way that makes him look very regal and intimidating. And then of course you have Imp. Let's see if I can get Imp to stand on his. Look at that. Got it. Nailed it. First time. But like I said, if you come through and you kind of bump the figure, jostle it, wow, he's actually staying on there pretty good. I don't think it was designed to go that way, but you can display Imp on Hordak's shoulder if you so care to. He's more on his arm right there. I have seen a couple shots where people have taken Imp and kind of tried to move him up onto the shoulder area right here. Yeah, see, there you go. I'm not going to fight with that. But it can be done. It can be done. You can put him up there. So anyway, this has been a review of the Masters of the Universe Classics Filmation-inspired Hordak. I like the figure. It doesn't bother me that we don't have the Filmation head sculpt yet, because I think it's going to come down the line. And personally, other than that, you know, just to me, it's kind of nitpicking. I know people want what they want, and you're entitled to want what you want, but this is what we've gotten so far. There's a chance down the line we'll get a more accurate Filmation cow head and armor down the line, and then you can really build your ultimate version of Filmation Hordak if you so care to. But honestly, this is a really, really nice rendition, a really nice representation of one of the most iconic looks of Hordak, which is his appearance in the Filmation cartoon series of Princess of Power. As always, guys, comment, rate, like, and subscribe if you care to. Give me some constructive criticism, some feedback. Let me know what you like. Let me know what you don't like. And I really appreciate your time. And as always, this is Jackhammer 2711, and I will catch you on the flip side.